Welcome
Welcome to
to
Oh
Oh
Sweet
Sweet
Wonders.
This session needs to be spirit led. We did another podcast,
Yeah.
and I really interestingly enough, thank you, Lord. It was something I wanted to talk about,
Yeah.
about something that happened to me. But also, what I realized was that I didn't include God. Like I didn't consider what He wanted to do for the podcast, and so like every step, like even in this marriage, it's like, all right, we have to start considering God and asking Him. And I was like, God, you don't want me to do this? We shot it similar, but and God was like, no, don't release it. I said, okay, because I really wanted to do this setting.
Because you talked about it.
I did.
And I was shocked when you changed it. And I was like, okay, I guess we're going to do it this way. But that's cool.
Yeah, I think.
I didn't question it.
Yeah.
That's, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But I was saying that I think when it comes to, if you say you're going to be, oh, this marriage is made by God and those other things, and God is my savior, how much we don't put Him in the planning, or even not even put Him in the planning, but ask Him about the planning. Ask Him about, Lord, how do you want this to go? Well, what do you want this to look like? And I didn't do that, and I was just like, I said, okay, God, so you're showing me, you're teaching me, in everything to ask, hey, Lord, what's going, what's going on? But I asking Him in consideration, Lord, how do you want things? What do you want? I think that's something we need to do, and also maybe even like talk about.
Yeah. And so on my side of things, it's like as your wife, I have to be okay with you being in leadership of this. My job has been to pray concerning what we're doing, that it is the will of God, yes, but pray in support, in comfort, in you peace, pray in God's spirit and things like that. And so the vision of how it was supposed to look wasn't my job. It wasn't my portion. So it was like, okay, I had to like, this is the first time we're talking about it. That it wasn't that you went to God about it. It was what you saw. But on the flip side of it, I just kept hearing you say that this was the setup that you wanted. So it was like, okay. And so when the change happened, I could have chose to, like, well, babe, you said we was gonna do this. You said we was gonna do that, and you're not doing it. I could have went that route with it, but it was like, okay, and it's a part of being a wife that women don't talk about, letting the man lead for real. This is a way of seeing that, like how leadership looks in a marriage. And sometimes it may be that we bump our heads, but not necessarily bump our head, but you see how we weren't able to use that podcast just yet. It's like, okay, now on God's timing, in God's direction, this is what it looks like. This is what it was supposed to be. But I think it just taught us lessons. It taught you as the leader to make sure that in everything to go to God first, regardless of how it looked like. It looked great. We talked about a great topic. It was something, it was God led. We shared exactly what we needed to. And not necessarily that He can't use it, because again, He can use that for another time. And then on my side, it was like, okay, as a wife, I can't decide whether or not you're wrong, if this is what God has us doing. Okay, it is for me to allow my husband to lead, me be on his side or right beside him praying, God, let your will be done, because we are doing what you called us to do. We might not make every step that we're supposed to be taking in that moment, but we are to seek Him first.
You know what's interesting? I think even as a leader, and let me preface this by saying this, right? Me and Keala just got married. Okay. So we're not out here claiming these are the 10 steps to the successful marriage. This, you're on a journey with us.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, people have this, oh, these are things, and we're going to be interviewing other couples to get
Yeah.
that, but we're not sitting here saying we're the all know, get no. But
Mm-mm.
everything is coming straight off the press,
Yep.
and as a leader, as a man, as a Christian, I think it hits all those things. You have to realize introspectively when you're doing something because you want to do it.
Mm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I think if God can get us to start pinpointing, because when we did the podcast, when I remember when I first sat down, I remember in my heart feeling I want to do this.
Mm.
I want to do this topic.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, like oh yeah, this is a good topic to talk about. And so God will, if you have a relationship with Him, and you're listening to Him, you're spending time with Him, when He tugs on you, when He shows you things, I vividly remember feeling in my heart saying, "This is what I want to do." And so you have to have that understanding that, hey, is this something I want to do? And if it is, do I need to put that to the side and say, God, what is it that you want to do, and how do you want to do it? You know.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's important not just on your side. Like it's important for me on my side of things to consult God on my decisions that I have to make for us, and vice versa, the decisions that you have to make for us. Like you're not just making those decisions for yourself. It's us included. And so it is important in marriage that not even just marriage, it's just in your individual life too, but definitely in marriage that you consult God on everything, because every little detail counts and every little detail determines the next move, the next step, the next getting, the next giving, the next, thing, the next environment, the next atmosphere. And so it's very important for us to seek God, and not just seeking God individually. I feel like, where two or three are gathered in His name, there He is in the midst. And if we're touching and agreeing on something, and God is like, no, He's gonna let us know. And we've
Yeah.
had that happen before. We're like, nah, it ain't time.
Yeah.
you don't
You about to
know.
mess this whole thing up.
No, yeah. So it's terribly important. Not terribly in a bad way, but like it is so important for us to be on one accord concerning God in our marriage and in our lives. Like I can't sit over here and make decisions that I want to do just based on my own likings, my own facts, my
Mm.
own opinions, without one, talking to God, and then two, talking to my husband. Like I'm not going to make a decision and not come to you about it. Just like I did this in my singleness, I'm not going to make a decision and not go to God about it. I'm not gonna make a move like job wise. Before, when I was single, I would not take a job unless God sent me there. And I knew when He told me no. Like it was plenty of jobs that I applied for. I remember sitting in the office. I needed a job. And this job just came up, and I used to teach before at the colleges. So this job came up at this other college, and I was like, oh, I can get back in teaching. I can, oh, the money's great. I walked in the interview, and the I think it was either the program director or the dean, one of the two, who, or the president maybe, who interviewed me. And literally before the interview was over, it was like 5-10 minutes in, he was like, listen, I want to hire you for the job now. Like
Wow.
we can skip everything else. He was like, you're brilliant. I love the way you talk. I love the way you think. And we need this. We can hire you right now. We got the paper. We can make the paperwork ready right now. God was like, no. Mm-mm. And in my mind, I'm like, sir, that was too soon. That's too quick. I mean,
Someone right.
it was not settling right in my spirit. Okay, so I was like, I said, and I told him, I said, I'm gonna be honest with you. I pray about everything that I do. I said, and this came up really, really fast. I was not expecting that. I really appreciate it, but I'm gonna have to pray on this decision before I make a decision. I can't just tell you right now. Yes, it would have been different if they had to call me back, it would have felt a little different, but I immediately knew that it wasn't something that God wanted me to do. He didn't give me the explanation as to why yet, but he told me no. So I get in the car and literally he's like, before I left the premises, God was like, no. And the reason I'm telling you no is because if you take this job, this is going to happen. That's going to happen. You're going to experience this. This is going to go wrong. This is going to go left. You're going to have to deal with this if you take this job. You're going to have the great money. You're going to have the great hours. You're gonna enjoy doing it because it is your passion, but it's not what I have for you right now. And consulting God causes you to realize that it's more to just in just making a decision. There's so much other things that come along with this decision.
Right.
And so doing that in my singleness, I now have to take that and bring that into my marriage. And I can't now I gotta include you. I can't just be out here making a decision because now if I go out here and make a decision without one God, two you, I'm screwing up everything. Attached to your favor, attached to our blessings, attached to our generations that are coming through our bloodline. Like these decisions matter.
Man, you tell you something because it's interesting that God, like, He told you that,
Yeah.
right? Like, this, right? And it's interesting, like, God knows who we are, and like for me, He would give me that sense, that ain't it, but He wouldn't tell me why, because I know for me, because me, I'm gonna try to figure it out, right? Because man, it don't work, don't eat, and I remember I was like. Yeah, God knows what He's doing. That's why we got to just trust Him. And the faith is so important. Don't just talk about trusting God, and then you get mad at God when you don't trust Him and things don't go the way they're supposed to go. And this is like I'm sitting there, don't have no job, in a relationship I didn't need to be in. Right? Well, I'll say this: it was a point for me that the relationship that I was in
Yeah.
and it was getting in the midst of God, right?
Mm.
Idolatry, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm sitting there. I mean, tell you, it was bad. I'm sitting there and I'm on my face praying every morning. My mom was like, "You got to get a job. You got to, And I'm like, I know, like She's telling me. She said, "Hey, she had a friend at the airport. Went to the airport. I'm a perfect candidate. I think I was like 35 or whatever it was. Or I forgot what I was. 30 something. Perfect candidate. Black male, strong. Everything, single. Blah blah blah. Not married. And I was perfect candidate. My friend, my mom's friend, had it in there, worked there. She put my name in. They're like, no, and I'm sitting there like, I'm the perfect candidate, baby. She did it twice. That
Wow.
they were like, no. I
Wow.
was like, and my mom is sitting there like, you need to get a job. I'm
Wow.
looking for the job. I'm doing after school, but the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, I know this ain't what God want me to do.
Mm-hmm.
I know it. My mom's like, come on, because and the thing is like she didn't like seeing me not have, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
As a parent, I understand that, especially
Yeah.
when you've taught that.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, that this ain't it. But also, and as much, and it's not to get on our parents, like they have good principles, things like that. But also, we have to be honest with this. I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, right? And so I was in a relationship, and I finally ended the relationship. As soon as I got out of the relationship, as soon as I got out of the relationship, 4 or 5 days later, I lie to you not. Hey, this is position at MTV.
Mm. Mm.
It
Yeah.
wasn't. It wasn't the girl's fault.
No.
It wasn't my mama's fault.
Mm-mm.
It was my fault.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think as men, as Christian men, we have to take responsibility. Again, we're going back to Lord, show me when I because I wanted to be in a relationship. That's what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And God's like, that's not what I have for you. And we talked about this before. Like I haven't even started my passion. I haven't even turned. You know what I'm saying?
You ain't get in the car
You
yet.
ain't even get in the car yet. You know what I'm
Trying to
saying?
drive somewhere.
And I'm
Drive
sitting
turkey.
there. You ain't even get in the car. And it's like you haven't even started, my guy.
Yeah.
And so when I let it go, and then when I got into MTV, it was just like boom. And the good thing about that's why I love grandmothers and our grandparents. As in the midst of me going through all this, I go to my grandmother, and I'm like, she could tell I was just like tired dealing with everybody and then what they want. And we started praying, and sure enough, she started shouting, "Media, media." And let me tell you something. When she said this peace just came over me.
Mm-hmm.
Media, media, and I was like, and I was like, yes, yeah. I felt, like I like it was like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I felt so much better. And she said you're supposed to be media, media, and then as soon as that happened, boom, got the job at MTV.
Wow.
And then it's been like ever since then. And so now that's why I was so single for so long,
Mm-hmm.
because of that experience of saying, God, do you want me to be in this relationship? Because I done already seen you not gonna let me, and that's the thing we gotta recognize. There's certain things God's not letting you do because you don't need to be in that situation. He has better for you. And so
Yeah.
I started realizing, I said, I can't be in this relationship. I can't be in these certain relationship that I can and get a little fun, whatever, because it's gonna mess up the other stuff, the other focus that
Mm-hmm.
God has going for me. And so it was like it was a check for me. It's like, you know what, do I need to be with this person? Do I need to what am I doing in my singleness?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even think about it. The way you talk about what you're doing in your singleness, I never thought about it. Just what I need to do in my singles. I'm just doing it, and God just was just working with me. But
Yeah. I mean, I think we all have to experience it in our different ways. It's not that we're not experiencing it, it just looks different for different people. Like, I was taught to look at singleness. I was taught to look like one of the churches I was in. I really appreciate the leadership and what they taught us in certain things. And that was one of them, to look at what are you actually supposed to be doing in your singleness, because there's assignments attached to you that you have to have done before you get with that person. Because if I were to have unfinished business in my singleness when we got together and when we got married, that would have brought baggage to our marriage. Then I would have been held accountable for what I didn't do, okay? And then now I'm putting that on you too, because now God has to, because the work still has to be done. The call is still the call. The chosen is still the chosen. The remnant is still the remnant. And if I'm a part of the remnant, if I'm the royal priesthood, if I'm that chosen one that God has in my generation, in my family, in my bloodline, in churches, in ministry, in jobs, like if I'm that person that's supposed to handle it, the call is still the call.
yeah,
So I'm gonna have to handle it. Now what comes with it is the hardship. And now what comes with it is the struggle. And now I'm having to sit with this guilt because now my husband has to suffer with me.
let me tell you something. So when we first got together, I definitely had some unfinished baggage.
I mean, we
You know what I'm
did.
saying? Like and I can admit that, like, because even though I was in a relationship, I was in love, there was still this unsurety, like, is she the one? Because so every relationship, we was relationship, but it didn't work out, and I'm like, I was just waiting.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? I was just waiting to see, and I kept saying to myself, she's a minister. She's real. She's, you know what I mean? Like like she really loved you. She a relationship with you was real, and that's all I had to hang on to. in my thoughts of you, because me, and I was waiting. I honestly, I was waiting till you met my mom and things like that. But in the midst of that, I wasn't foolish. I
Right.
had
Yeah.
to cut off certain relationships,
Yep.
and when I made a decision, that you were the one I was going to be with, re- certain relationships just fell off.
They were like,
Nah, nah, I mean, stop.
uh,
Oh, okay.
you had
Stop
me.
talking to me, Bob. Which is what you want.
Yeah.
They just melted off of me. They was like, no, okay, all right, And then some of them are like, you sure?
Mm.
You know, and so I know that took a lot for you to trust me that in the midst of certain things that I was, because it's interesting how you think from where you come from.
Yeah.
You meet somebody like me,
Yeah.
I'm a player.
Yep. Immediately. Immediately.
And I
It's
was
like,
like,
nah, this joker playing games.
and
Now
I'm
you
sitting,
trying to play me.
I was like, I'm trying to love. I want somebody. I was want somebody to love so badly. Trying to love. I want to. I didn't want. I ain't want none of that. I'm a people person. Like, but I didn't want none of that. But it was is very interesting that you say about the. I knew that I had to let go of some, and then even as I'm going along, even in my journey, when I see things, I'm able to now. Oh, you know what? That could be baggage.
Hmm.
Let me let that go.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because this is a process. It
Yeah.
is sanctification is an ongoing thing.
Hmm.
That also sanctification also goes for your relationships.
Friendships, even.
Yes.
Because now you had well, you had the groupies. You had the
I
traps.
don't know what you
No,
talking about.
but you had the traps. No,
That's crazy.
he had the traps. But like on my side, it was friendships that I could no longer hold on to because they served my marriage no purpose. And I could have held on to them. And when I say they served my marriage no purpose, it was like you could feel the jealousy. You could feel the, oh, she thinks she better than, oh, okay, so you just went from this extreme to that, and now you
Uh,
married, People couldn't believe it. It's funny that people can walk with you, see your struggles, see your stories, but when God blesses you and elevates you and bring you up, they can't believe the process. But it's like you were with me throughout the whole process.
but the question is, what were they
What
thinking
were
in the
they
midst?
right? What were they
Mm,
thinking? What were they processing? And I know that like God had me to show people my life the way he had me to show them so that he makes a believer out of them from
mm,
my story. So, this was a part of the assignment. It was a part of the setup to getting married to the man that God had for me in the timing. Cause the timing was not on me. If it was up to me, I was like, nah, it ain't time yet. I want him here, but God, right now though, I mean, I know I said I was ready for him, but I didn't feel like I deserved it in the moment because of what was being seen from me. And God was like,
mm.
remember, you didn't put you there. I told you to go to the wilderness. The Holy Spirit sat with you and told you to go, and you followed. And you've been able to witness, and you've been able to, and whether or not that witness called them forth, or whether or not they turned away even the more because they couldn't get past their flesh. So it's like the assignments that I had really it helped me to realize that some of those friends were not friends. They were truly assignments. They were truly seasons because they would not serve me purpose in my marriage because they couldn't believe God as much as I do. They couldn't see God in this. They like to see this happening this fresh in a marriage is crazy to some people.
It's interesting because it's like out of all of that, it's keeping your focus on God. What do you want? How do you want it? Because you could have been like, nah,
Right.
I'm not. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. I told, I would, if it was up to me, I wouldn't have been ready to get married.
Yeah.
Nah, I graduate. But I told you that I said I
Just graduated.
graduated.
Yeah.
I'm all about, and God was like, I need you to push.
And I didn't even think you were gonna do it then, because you had just graduated, and I was not. That's why I was totally shocked. Like I was like, huh, so, what?
It was months before they got married. Got engaged November 29th, day after Thanksgiving. And that 2 months, God was like, I need you to push. And every step of it, you don't, like, it was like just being led. I was like, God, should I get the ring? Like, because we stopped by the ring shop. And I was like, I really wanted to have the experience with you, but I couldn't let you know that. And
I know
so,
you did. That's why we went 3 times.
we did. Well, we went the last time because you was catching the
No,
attitude, but
whatever
you was feeling
you
some type
want,
of way because
whatever.
she was feeling some type of way in the mall. And so I said, let's go ahead and look at this ring. She was like, she fixed up real
Whatever.
quick. She fixed
Whatever.
up real quick. And so every step was like, God, how do we tell people, men in society, that you got to know everything, you got to have it all together. But when you rely on God, there's certain things you're supposed to have together, you know, responsible wise. But when it comes to, like, if you're gonna trust God and you're saying you're gonna trust God and you've made that covenant with Him that I'm gonna trust you, He's like, I said, God, should I do this? Should I do that? No, wait here, do that, ask now. And it was always these things that I stayed before Him,
Right.
and it was all God. It's important for us to recognize when we are following God and when we're following ourselves and our flesh.
Yeah.
You gotta do it. The blessing. Let me tell you something. There's blessings waiting for you. There's so
Oh
much
man,
waiting for you,
it is.
but you listening to everybody else and you want to do what you want. God's like, I got this for you.
Yeah.
Why are my friends falling away? Why are my friends with? It's like, because it's supposed to be like
It's
that,
supposed to
because
be.
they can't go where I have for you to go. And a lot of times, I think they asked Jamie Foxx one time. He asking them, how come I don't have anybody with me? And they said, well, because you didn't bring nobody with you. And a lot of times we haven't asked God, who do I bring with me?
Yeah.
Oh, they've been loyal. They've been this, and that's okay to be loyal, but
Fine. Yeah.
they wouldn't have what they have if they didn't know you. What would they be doing if they didn't know you? So are you gonna? So Lord, is this person supposed to be with me, or am I supposed to? Again, here we are, right? Questions. I'm asking God. I'm not questioning God. I'm asking, questioning him where it's where it's negative, but it's like, God, what do I do with this friendship? What do I do with this?
What is this? Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's how. So you know how. Okay. So when the wedding came up, right, and we was planning, and he was like, "Oh, how many bridesmaids you gonna have? 2, 3?" I'm like, "Nah, like 12 of these jokers. My girls run deep. Okay."
she ain't had
He
these
was like,
friends.
"You ain't got no friends. Where did he come from?" No, I have friends, but let me explain what I see as friends and how
Right.
me and my girls, me and my friends, we have been down since we met, right? The difference between us and our friendship than any other friendship I've had to let go. These friends understand that every season is not going to call for us to be in each other's face. So we might go a whole year without speaking.
Yeah.
We might go 2 years without speaking, and not because we did anything wrong to each other or crossed the paths or because we felt some type of way or it was like, It never changed. It was like we picked up right where we left off. But we always cared about each other. We always loved each other, but we always loved each other enough to go to God first. So these same friends, always, we had that agreement, right? Unspoken agreement that was always God. When I went to them about problems or they come to me about problems, we immediately go to God first. What did God say? Those are the types of friends that I consider friends. My friends, my girls, oh yes. We talk about God. We seek God, not just individually, but for our relationship as friends. And so these are women who unintentionally just did life with me, even at a distance, with God involved. And again, we could go years without, like, my matron of honor, we haven't spoken in years, but when I tell you that is my sister, I wouldn't have chose nobody else. I would have chose nobody else. But it was something that I noticed even when they all came together for the wedding. I have the best friends ever because all of them, like, we have now a group chat, and I watched how they just gelled together so tight in this little short period of time of meeting, because we did Zoom calls, we met through, and so by the time we got in person and we showed up at the Airbnb, it was like, yes, sis, it's good to meet you. But I watched them be intentional about how they cared for the other person. They start to learn personalities, like, oh, okay, you know what? I can't approach you like that. I know that's my personality, but I'm and not that I'm hiding myself. I have to be so careful about you that I cater to what God has for you. Right? Again, these are the same friends that know that certain seasons of our lives we're not going to be around each other. We may not talk because God has us on assignment. There are certain parts of me that some of my friends could not see. Not because God wanted to, like, make me fake or hide me, because they know who I am. They know what I went through. They saw it, but they wouldn't have been able to handle it because they love me so much.
Yes.
They would have tried to help me out of it. And
Yes.
God will not have anybody, like, it may not be my time to be helped. Because my sister's like, girl, you should have called me. You could have came and lived with me. You could have come stay with me. It wasn't my time. It wasn't my season to be helped, and not in that way. That wouldn't have helped me.
It's because when I saw you in this lonely place. So
Yeah.
so when you said
It's lonely out there.
when you said 12 bridesmaids, I was like, 12 bridesmaids. I was like, you supposed to be the lone wolf. Where all these girls, these friends
Yo,
come
it's
from?
lonely.
I was like, you got grown women as friends, I was like, where
We've been
they
here
at?
since we was here.
I'm
okay?
sitting there. I'm like, who this grown woman, 6'3", 6'2", tall?
First of all,
you know what I'm saying? I was like, where was she at?
First of all, you're not gonna talk about my friend like
That's
that.
a good thing. I was like, you got this one, you got that one. I was like, where these friends
And
come
they
from?
my
Light skin,
Woo!
dark skin, caramel
All
skin,
colors.
all color. I was like, where were they at?
Yeah,
You know what I'm
had
saying?
friends
I was like, what in the world?
Yeah,
But
they're my friends.
and I looked at you when I said that. I was like, I might be able to get something.
And it's funny because anytime I talk about friends and people ask me, like, best friend, I can't say I have one best friend. I literally have 12 best friends. Like, literally 12. And I can honestly say that there are a few more, but my core girls, it's like 12 of them.
12 tribes of Israel.
I mean, the 12
Here
of
we
us.
go. Here we go.
But no, literally, and I can explain it in that way. And I'm grateful for the process of Jesus being our friend, because that's really how I learned friendship. If we're gonna call him friend and he's gonna call us friend, what does a friend look like?
Yeah.
And that's what I started, like, literally. We talked about this the other day. My childhood best friend, the person who taught me friendship, was Shekeala, right? And we were in elementary school. From elementary school, like pre-K on up to 5th grade. She was my best friend. But she taught me friendship. If I did something wrong, she literally, we're in elementary school. She would literally pull me to a side and she's like, that wasn't right. That was not nice. You probably should not have done that. You should look and consider, like, and I literally, in elementary school, I had a bully, right? I had a bully. And so she was like, no, don't fight her. Listen to her. Why is she fighting you? Like,
Wow.
fight, and like, I have no other explanation, because I never fought my bully back. Never. I fought her the it was the last time, and I just lost it. Okay. She knocked me out. I knocked her back. Anyway, but throughout the process of her bullying me, my best friend was on the sideline, like, listen, look at her life. She don't have parents. Her mom is on drugs. Her dad is somewhere in jail, locked up. Like, she's being tossed here and there. She's already held back a couple of grades. Like, she was bigger than everybody, but she didn't fit in because everybody was smaller than her. So she had, she was picking on us, but she was struggling. She was like, I saw her crying the other day. So it's like, this friend taught me that I should not look at someone. She really taught me Bible, scripture. When I look back at it, it was like, we don't fight against flesh and blood. I couldn't fight her because I understood, like, anytime she would hit me, anytime she would, like, pick on me, pull my hair, I would just take it. Because I'm like, okay, maybe this is what she needs to do to get it out. She don't know anything else. But this friend taught me how to be a friend even when I wasn't accepted.
Right.
She taught me to be a friend even when the other person could not handle me. Like, so even how to handle her. She was gentle. It was, if I was dealing with something, because we shared a lot of stories. We shared what we were dealing with as kids. And I would talk to her and I told her a couple of things, and she would piece me through. She would piece me through those moments. And it was like she would stay calm. She would, just share light. And so learning that as a kid, since then, every friend I had was truly my friend. I didn't accept people who could not accept me. I did not accept people who did not handle me well. I could discern in the spirit, like, you know what? You're not for me. You are an assignment. I am supposed to still treat you as a friend, but I'm not supposed to keep you with me.
Right.
And learning that as a kid was so hard. But I silently dealt with those things, and I learned those things. Like, God has been teaching me for so long. And, like, I don't say things like that to boast or brag, but it helps me to teach people, like, I am uniquely made, and it makes no sense for me to know the things I known at that age. But from that age, this is how I've been living my life, which is why I have 12 tribes of Israel following me. Like, them my girls, okay? And when I tell you we have not crossed each other, we've had some differences. Some of us have had differences, but half of us, we ain't never argued. And even the ones that we had differences, we never argued.
Yeah.
We never, like, we never got there. It was like, no, I did not like that. Yeah, we not cool right now, and I don't like it. But other than that, it was like, even in those moments, we still cared about each other. We still loved each other. Like, when we came back, it was like, you know what? I love you, and you're my sister, and I'm proud of you. I'm happy for what's happening in your life right now. I know we're not talking, but I'm so happy for you, just in different accomplishments. And that started I'm sorry. I know, and it's when can we be real about our relationships with people enough to, we did something wrong, apologize, and let's move forward. If they're supposed to be in your life, everybody is not called to be that.
You gotta recognize that.
You gotta recognize that. There was some people in this process of me meeting you and getting engaged, like, they were there for, like, all the blissful moments, and oh my God, girl, he is that, but then they're no longer here. And it hurt. I think it hurt because I'm on, like, a new break of life. I'm in this new era of my life, and you would think that these are the people that are supposed to come with you because they experience the glory of God working in this thing coming together. But they were never meant to come with us because they would have hindered a lot of decisions I made concerning us.
That's that. I think it's just me. I will never let somebody know that I know that they don't consider me a friend, that they're just hanging around. I'm just gonna, because the thing is like this, I want to see who you really are.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So there's certain things that I won't tell you. There's certain things that I've noticed, and I'm just watching. And and I remember a long time ago, there were certain people who I wanted to be my friend, or who I think we could do some great things together, stuff like that. And certain things happened, and God was like, "I'm not showing you this for you to be mad.
No.
I'm showing you so that you know what's in that person or what they're dealing with." And you and I, we always talk about this. I'm much more temperament than you are with certain things, but I also have a lot of compassion. And it doesn't mean that I don't see what they're doing. I'm watching because there might be a moment where God places me there. And then, because that happens often, there's this dysfunction or this thing that happens between me and people who are supposed to be friends, and then something else comes along where they need. And I think there was one point where there was not a potential, it wasn't a friend, but it was a girlfriend at that time, and she showed what was going on. God showed me what happening, and then when that happened, I had to learn. Oh no, you don't get the same support.
Mm.
You know, when I want to be there for you, you acting like this. But so I've learned to not to be there, maybe myself, be amicable, but not to give the same access.
Mm.
And so Lord, who do I give access to?
Access is so important. Like,
Yeah.
there has to be limited access in marriage. Literally. And
Yeah.
I've been learning that.
And that's the thing we've both been learning, because
Yeah.
I'm a people person.
Yep.
And you feel like, no, you don't
Yeah.
be about. I'm like, babe, have some compassion. But so,
Mm.
but it's like your thinking is that way because you're concerned about who is around Will
Mm.
and what do they want from him? What are they taking from him? What are they,
Mm.
like I made a call last night to make sure everything was good
Mm.
with certain people.
Yeah.
Now I could have taken it like, oh, well then forget, I was like, no,
Mm.
I want to have clarity. And I think a lot of
Right.
times the enemy plays in those areas where there's no clarity.
Mm.
So there are certain times when it comes to relationships or people, stuff like that, where I'm seeking clarity. And there are certain times where God is like, you don't need this clarity. Move on. Because they're just going to keep on doing what they want to do. So just, move on.
Yeah.
And you can hear them talking about you, all those other things, and like, oh yeah, he just will just gonna use you and blah 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 and all those other things. And I'm sitting there like, I know who I am. I know that's not, and you know who I am. But it ain't about that. It's about what God is saying. And so it's like, all right,
That's why I just learned to be consistent in who I am. I
right,
stopped I stopped trying to teach people and train them on who I am. You've walked with me. Like Jesus, right? The disciples walked with Jesus. You walked with him. But okay, like, and to not know who he is in a moment of distress, or the moment, like Peter denied Jesus. He told you
told him.
that you was going to deny him, and you did it anyway. Like, but you walked with him. You knew who he was. You knew, So people who have been around me, I've told you who I was through my actions, not through my words. I've been this, and all of my friends said the same thing, and I have the video clips to prove it. Like, we had our first meeting, for the wedding party, and we came together, and I was like, thank God for my girls. And I had each one of them introduce themselves and just say whatever they wanted, right? Every one of them said the same thing. When I tell you, I was bawling, okay? But they've all said the same thing. One thing about Keela, she is consistent. She is the same every time. She's going to be the same with every person. I ain't never seen her switch up in front of me to somebody else. I
Right.
ain't never seen her switch up to me for me. Like, I've always been the same. It doesn't matter if we frustrated with each other. I'm always the same. And
Yeah.
so consistency has taught me that I don't need to prove anything to anybody else, as long as because my answering comes from God. Like, I have to answer to this. And I've always kept in my mind the fact that when I get to the gate, He's not gonna ask me, you know, what did so and so do? What did Susie do? What did
Mm.
he's not gonna ask me these things. He's gonna ask me about my consistency as his child. My consistency with the accountability that I have, with the responsibility that I have, and what access, what did I do with everything in my hand?
Mm.
So I've always kept that in mind concerning other people. I'm not gonna do you wrong because I got him to answer for. And when I started doing that, I realized that this is truly being friends. I don't care what happens between us. We might have some differences. And we have to grow through that. But I have to be consistent in who I am. There's one thing that nobody can say different is that I wasn't consistent. Like they cannot say I was not consistent in who I was. Even now, I'm still the same person. I just grew up. I grew up, I matured, I leveled up, and my thinking, my mindset is different. I've matured in my thinking. And so now everything makes more sense. Like, oh, this is why they're not here. It's they have to watch from the outside looking in. And I talked about this before. Like, I don't have enemies. I don't have enemies. I got people who allow the enemy to use them. But I don't have enemies. God, they're his enemies because they allowed, you know what I'm saying?
Ah,
But
that's
I say
crazy.
that
That's
because,
funny.
you know, I realize that again, we don't fight against flesh and blood. And so the people that are after me are the people who they always end up coming back. They always end up coming back, apologizing, or they always end up coming back and just like slipping back in. It's like salvation. Come on back, shoot. We here. But I also have to then guard my my
Mm.
accessibility to them
Yeah.
because now you've showed me who you truly are.
Right.
And yes, people can change and I can accept you changing because God changed me
Mm-hmm.
in ways that I had. However, now I realize that in this season, you can't go with me. We can be cool. I can still, because I still love you, but you can't go with me because whatever you're carrying is going to hinder me. Whatever demons you got going on, baby, they cannot attach themselves to me, okay? Because we are past that. We're good.
Here's the crazy part about that, right? You see this a lot on social media, TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
People are getting so concerned, right? Let's say they want to come back and they want to be around you.
Mm-hmm.
And if they ever got it
Hmm.
that God is their head and wanting to do more with them, that if they got focused with God and listening to Him, not profiling or getting caught up all this other stuff and and self sabotage, all this other stuff. You just listen to God, you would no longer be trying to get back with us or get back with Keela or get back with that person that you've fallen out with. That you would be next to them on your own journey
We'll
and
see you
being
at the top.
able and seeing people seeing people together. See, the world gives this thing of there can be only one. No, that ain't what my God says.
No.
And that feeds the competition. That feeds like I'm gonna be around you. I'm gonna be around you and learn from you. And as you grow, we gonna grow. So
Mm-hmm.
no, no, no.
You
As
grow.
as that person grows, they gonna grow. And so now when they grow and they're going to a place that you can't go because you don't understand, you take it as disrespect.
Yeah.
Or you take it as, oh, see, you changing, you blah blah. And it's like, wait, you said I'm changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You
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 not.
didn't change?
You didn't.
You saw me getting
I
better,
told.
or you didn't
I
change
told you that.
for a better thing? And I think a lot of times we get caught up, especially on TikTok and all this other stuff about I'm just gonna, we're gonna have this following, I'm gonna do this thing, and we follow people and don't follow God. And the other thing is that
Mm-hmm.
people on TikTok and those social media, they're looking for real people of God.
They are. They're
They're
tied
looking
up
for
faith.
real people, God, that can keep it real.
Yeah.
Me, I can keep it real. I can talk about my lives and how horrible they used. It wasn't who I was. I can be that about that, but I can also have that
Yeah.
live, and at the end of that live, pray, and
Yeah.
everybody was like, let's pray because they recognize when somebody real about this stuff. And then people are looking for that, and because people, I want you guys to hear me on TikTok, because you guys are looking for a different relationship than you've seen in church and all that other stuff, you become starved and you start following people who appear, who have the likeness of a man and woman of God, but they're not. You know what they are? They're trying to do what you're trying to do. They're trying to rank up. They're trying to get their stuff up. God taught me that. I went to National Religious Broadcasters, and I went up there interviewing people. I saw all these companies that I'm following. They're trying to do the same thing I'm trying to do. They trying to get that deal.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying that as an example that there's a lot of people on social media, they trying to get where you at. And so the question you have to ask is, and is where's your relationship with God when you can notice? Because you notice when something ain't fully right. Again, we're back to asking God. God, am I supposed to be following this person? Am I supposed to be in their lives? Give me the right people to follow so that I'm not out here making these people that have these followers an idol. If you want to follow somebody because you're learning their strategy, learn that not a problem. But if they are starting to become your guide, and the person says, "Oh, the Lord said,"
Be blowing wind at the t-
I feel it. I feel it. I feel spirit fingers. I feel like the
The
Lord said
Lord
that He
said.
wants you to start a business with making diapers. And you sitting there. You ain't asked God to confirm the word. You ain't asked God. You ain't asked your pastor. You ain't got no pastor. You ain't got no pastor. At least get before God's face and say, Lord, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? And if something is not right, let me feel it here. Let me hear you and say, okay, this isn't where I need to be. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I went off on a tangent.
No,
Sorry,
that
but
was good because it's true. And this is what people don't realize. Like, this why you ain't got no husband. This why you ain't got no wife. Because you're not being obedient. You're not seeking God. You're not looking to Him. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. But it's true. Because, again, when we got engaged, when we met, it wasn't that I was all the way together. I still had work to be done. I still had to get out of my flesh. I what?
but you were willing, and
Yes.
that's the key part that I saw in you.
Yeah. I
Everybody else
wasn't.
wasn't willing to grow with me.
Yeah.
You were willing to grow with me.
Yeah. And it's because, like, I knew that I wasn't in a place that I was getting to. I knew that I was on the way somewhere, but I was on the way there. I had already let go of my flesh. When I said yes to God, I meant my yes. When I answered the call to ministry, it wasn't even to ministry first. It was my surrender that He asked for. It was my heart posture that He asked for. It was my feet that He asked for, my hands, my eyes, my lips. Like, He asked for me. Then He said, I'm calling you to ministry and I need you to do this. And He was very specific in the this. And it was confirmation to a word that I got when I was like 17. And that lady got in my face, and she was a prophet that I was scared of. Oh, you know them prophets. You just be like, no, she know the Lord for real. She be talking to him for real, cause you look at her wrong, and she know what your whole life look like. It's like, he ain't looking at her, okay. But she called me out, and she explained the mantle before I saw it. Like, she literally told me when she said, she said, you've been watching me and you see how I operate in the spirit. She was like, baby, you have that so much more. The mantle on your life, this is what you're called to. You're not going to be able to be around everybody. You're going to have some silent moments. You're going to be isolated. You're going to be alone. It's going to be fine. But you're never alone. You're not by yourself. She talked about the call of my life. And it wasn't just her telling me, it was what God had already been showing me. It just didn't make sense as to what he was showing me. So it was like all through my life, I had to I had to believe what God said about me, believe his word, and live it out loud, no matter how the mistakes look to people. No matter how the mistakes look to me, I had to keep seeking God. I knew that I needed him to leave, take this thing out of me. I knew I had to let go of some things. I know I had to be healed, but I couldn't do any of those things without him.
You know what's interesting, and because we do have to get ready to get out of here soon. I had to get used to, and I can admit this. I had to get used to your confidence in God in yourself, because you would always you and it was because I would always look at it and be like, she really talking about herself a lot. You know you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I'm
Now
not.
we over here
I
boasting
never
of the
right. That's what I'm
Lord.
saying. Like she up there, but because I am God, and I'm sitting. I'm thinking. I'm like. I'm thinking, but then also it's like you want your minister, you want your pastor, you want your, and I always said, for where I'm going, my wife has to understand who she is in Christ and confidence. My mom, I've had that example. My aunts, who they are in God. My grandmother, who they are in God is undeniable. And so I've always had that,
Yeah.
but I've always had seen the other stuff too.
They'll be
So
like, yo, you
so
playing
I
with God.
right, and so I had to like I was watching. That's why it took me so I was watching. I was like, she talking about herself and God a lot. I got to make sure she
Testimony.
real,
We live by the words of our testimony. We
right.
overcome by that.
And I'm sitting and I'm looking. I know it was something I had to and as a real man, I can I can openly admit that and say that,
I
because
appreciate that.
probably there's a lot of men reason why they thought they could talk to you, but then realized they couldn't because it's intimidating. If your relationship with Christ ain't strong, it's intimidating to see a woman of God go, yeah, I know what God called me. I know what He wants to do concerning, you know.
You gonna leave me alone with my concerning, okay?
They're like concerned,
Concerning
it
me,
gets,
okay?
it can be,
Of the Lord.
but yet it was also exciting for me,
Yeah.
because it was like, Lord, is she real? And then I would watch and pray, and I would say, I'm like, okay, Lord, is it cockiness, or is it just confidence in who you've called her to be? And let me tell you something. I prayed about that thing. I watched. I was like, okay, but it's something as a society, as something as a church, about somebody being confident in something, because they said in the church, you know that you know that you know. Well, how am I supposed to know that know if I ain't got confidence
If I
in
ain't got
God?
confidence in you.
You know what I'm saying? And so it was something like, okay, Lord,
Yeah.
all right, I'm watching, and now here's the thing, right? When you are doing what God has told you to do, when you're concerned with what He has for you to do, because you are that, now I have to put in question, why am I not confident? Right? And
Mm-hmm.
I love God. You can I got no problem
You
praying,
can
but
down.
but the outspokenness
Yeah. Being
of
bold.
of being, hey, this is who I am. But now I'm saying going crazy at work and be like, the Lord, God, nothing like that. But like my confidence in Christ, and I had to have that at MTV,
Yeah.
because they weren't, they weren't there at all.
Mm-mm.
And so I had to have that confidence then. But also it was like it reminded me of my confidence in Christ. It reminded me who, and I was just like, Okay, God. All right. And in the beginning, and it was just like, it put into question, this woman is outspoken on TikTok doing Bible study, things like that. I don't mind praying after my lives with her, but it wasn't like the standard wasn't there in my lives. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't even considering
Hmm.
God in my lives. I was just trying to find friends. I
Mm-hmm.
was just trying to, because I was by myself here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And God had to do a lot of healing with that. And it's very interesting
Yeah.
that that it all comes back to, Lord. I had to come back to, when I started coming back to God about how should I do things, my lives changed.
Mm-hmm.
My lives on TikTok, they changed. We started talking about resetting and all the things, everything started becoming more God filled. My poetry, my stuff, and all the things, like even the conversations we were having, I didn't want those anymore.
Mm.
I wanted what God wanted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's interesting enough, I have 15K. I have not been live in a very long time because I know what my crowd expects, and they've been seeing me change my content. And I'm not going live. I'm not going live unless God says, "All right, go live, and we can talk about resetting or all these other things." Like, my stuff has changed, but now
Yeah.
I'm trying to consider, all right, Lord, asking God, if you want me to go live, what should I be talking about? What
Mm-hmm.
should be,
Yeah. And it's something that I would do. Like literally, since the beginning of time, like I never knew what I was going to be talking about on live. And granted, before it was like, you know, some other stuff. But when God changed me and I said yes to him, that was when everything shifted. And I was like, okay, all right. I do have to, because that's where honest to God came from. Honest to God movement.
Mm,
It came from me having to do what I do privately, doing it publicly. And so it was like, okay, you really have to be honest to God. You have to show what it looks like to be honest to God. And it wasn't always easy because I wasn't always confident to speak out loud because, people have this category that they put me in, like, oh, she's this, oh, she's that. But God is like, no, be confident in who I called you to be, because I said be bold, because you are royal priesthood.
mm,
You are a chosen generation. You are this, you are, and so those things, when he talks about having courage, what does courage look like? Okay, no, it's to stand up, still be humbled. And that was my thing. I'm like, I want to be humble, God. I want to, I don't want people to feel
mm.
like I'm arrogant. I don't want them to. He's like, but that's not your heart, is it? And I know your heart.
Ah, that's
I
interesting.
know your heart.
But when they see you, it's easy from the outside to look and
Yeah.
be like, "Oh, she cocky."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
And
now,
that you're saying that, it's like,
yeah.
even when I watch it, I was like, I mean, she cocky, but I'm glad that we could have this space to 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 consider that and talk about that, because it's
Yeah.
like, you know, is it's okay to be confident and outspoken about God, and not because, but I think here's the issue. There's a lot of people out there being outspoken, and they're saying they're God and all this other stuff, but they have ulterior motives.
Yeah.
So it's like, when seeing somebody like you who is confident in Christ and things like that, it's like, are they self-centered? Because I know
Yeah.
I was at some
Yeah.
point, and God had to deal with me about my self-centeredness. He
Mhm.
dealt with me hard,
Yeah.
and so I'm sensitive to it. So when I'm seeing, I'm like, okay, all right,
Mhm.
okay,
It
you
was a
know,
lot that God taught me on how to be that, though, because and
mm,
I became who I am now in that confidence because of how people would shut me down, and they would make me feel bad. They would make me feel like I didn't have a voice. They would make me feel like I couldn't use my voice, and not just in singing, but I mean like literally talking. I would stutter over my words. I would like skip over things. I would not have a clear sentence because I wasn't confident in who I was talking about, not just because he sent me to talk, but because of I wasn't confident in him, because people were thinking that I was this, they were thinking that I was that, and I'm like, well, I wasn't showing that, so why are they thinking this? I didn't realize it was a trick of the enemy to cause me to not believe what God put in me. And on the flip side of that, the same people that were causing me not to be okay with my voice were never okay with theirs. They're still not. And it was it's. I remember one day I was gonna go park to go live, and I was driving and I was just singing. I was like, oh, that was a good run. Okay. All right, girl. I see you. You know, I do what I do by myself. So he was like, remember when you weren't confident in who I've called you to be? Remember when you weren't okay with your voice? He was like, now let me go backwards a little bit and teach you about those same people that caused you to believe. Those people that you believe, not that they caused me to do it. It was my own choice to believe what they thought, to believe what they said, that people pleasing type of thing, right? He was like, well, remember this person never wanted to hear themselves speak or talk. They were never confident in who I called them to be. And they're still to this day not. But this is why I'm having you to speak so boldly about who I am, because you're teaching people you've become. And this is now, I'm like, I'm really a voice trainer. I really am. Like, I can voice train you. My vocal training says, let's attack who you think you are. And let's put in place what God says you are and who God says you are, and live that out loud without fear, without yes, fear and trembling to God, but with what he called you to do and what he's called you to be and who he's called you to be okay with living out loud. People are not going to be okay with it. They're not going to like it. They're going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be fine. And so I sat there with that and I'm like, whoa, for somebody who once was a people pleaser, that was a struggle for me to come. I was always silent. I never talked like this, to be able to like just talk about who I am in God. And that was never a thing. I was always timid. I was always like, okay, don't talk about yourself, because then people gonna think you arrogant. They gonna think you into yourself. God is like, no. What do you think my disciples did? What do you think Jesus did? How do you feel like you're not called to this, to talk about who we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the words of our testimonies? Tell your testimony by the way you live, by the way you speak, by the way you act, by the way you treat people. And so I started doing that, and I got confident in God, and I started seeing what evidence came out of that. And I was like, oh, this is good. This feels good, because I'm no longer hiding my true authenticity, my true authenticity. Like I'm being authentic about who I am. And that's God. It's the way he wants it. And it's because it's going to draw those. If I'm lifting him up, because everything that I'm saying, it's not about me. It's really about God. If people listen, that's why he says the humble shall hear thereof and they be glad, and they're going to rejoice with me. They're not going to take what I say and be like, oh, those are the people who are not okay with them. Those are the people who have not tapped into the fullness of who God is on that level. Those other people, they're like, you know what? I can be that too. What is in me that I can be confident in? I don't want them to be like, Keala's, that's when that idolization come in. That's not what this is. This is just me being bold about who God called me to be, so that I show others what it looks like truly to be honest to God, what it truly looks like to be honest to God publicly. I don't want them to see me. Which is why when you saw me, you respected me as a woman because of how I received God and how I put him in place in everything in my life. It wasn't fake, Well, I just love the Lord.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And if you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you.